This is the Authentic Sex Podcast, real life conversations about sex, pleasure and relationships. I'm your host, Juliet Allen. This episode of Authentic Sex is sponsored by the Juliet Pleasure Wand. The Juliet is a premium crystal pleasure wand designed to heighten your sexual energy, increase self-love and self-pleasure, expand your orgasmic experiences, and connect you to your true sexual essence. You can read more and purchase your own crystal wand by visiting my website, www.juliet-allen.com. Beautiful, Jasmeen. It is so wonderful to finally connect and to have you here with me and to be opening these conversations with you. Thanks so much for saying yes to meeting with me like this.
Oh, thank you for having me, Juliet. I'm really excited for our conversation.
Me too. Mm-hmm. So we haven't officially met in person. I thought perhaps we had, but we just figured out before we started recording that we haven't. We've just been in each other's energy sphere digitally online for a while and, been, I would say, in the same circles for a bit when I was involved in ISTA and spending a lot of time in that community. And so here we are finally chatting. Do you want to share a little bit about you? Like, what are you doing in the world? Where are you right now? Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, thank you, Juliet. So, hi listeners, my name is Jasmeen Hana and I am currently in Greece after spending about 8 months in Egypt. That's where I'm originally from. I'm half Egyptian, half Austrian, and I spend a lot of the year in Egypt. Otherwise, I am traveling and for the last 12 years have been involved with ISTA. And I've been an ISTA facilitator now for about, I think, 9 or 10 years. So I have been deeply involved with the tantric community globally, especially also with the ISTA community. Before that, I was, you could say, very much involved also in tantra, but more in the internal practices for about another 6 years prior to that. So it's been a big bulk of my life. It really came in at the age of 22. And now I am also very committed to the ancient Egyptian practices. So I'm just launching Bliss School, the Blue Lotus International Soul School, which really works deeply with the ancient Kemetic or ancient Egyptian practices, whether they're involved, tantrically. For me, it's very important that it always is connected to our life force or to our sexual energy, including also the very deep soul work that is coming in at the moment on this planet, like a soul renaissance, an awakening, and an understanding that our power is vital and required. Our voices are important. Who we are matters. Showing up matters now more than ever. So it's a school specifically designed with the ancient Egyptian or ancient Kemetic practices to also for those who are feeling that awakening inside of them. It supports them in that tradition. A very old and very beautiful tradition. So you could say there's 2 big streams in my life. One is the ISTA, Haydn Mystery School stream, and the other is, of course, the ancient Kemetic or ancient Egyptian stream, which is part of my lineage. And yes, it's really waking up at the moment. So I've rebased down in Egypt. I live now down in Aswan, close to the temple of Uset, Isis, and that's where I'll be for probably a long time now. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. Yeah.
Wow, awesome, amazing. So intriguing to me, and no doubt to everybody listening, they're like, wow, all of that is just so mysterious and also just alluring, and for me anyway. So thank you for sharing. And I invited you here because I saw a Facebook post that you wrote, and it was a share you shared. I don't know the exact words. It was quite lengthy, but I was like, this feels like I need to read this. And you shared about, taking time to feel into like what you wanted to manifest in your next relationship. Totally correct me if I'm wrong. It was a while ago. And how you wanted, you wanted monogamy, and then this love came into your life, and you're now in this monogamous relationship, and you just shared openly about it. And, I knew that you had spent years in exploring polyamory and being in polyamorous relationships, and interviewed one of your partners a few years ago now. And he mentioned you a lot. And so I was really intrigued. And I think I commented. And then, we got chatting, and I was like, you need to come on the podcast and share if you're open to it. I explored polyamory a few years ago, but definitely not for the length you explored it. I very quickly realized it wasn't for me, and kind of traversed the ups and downs and learnt so much about myself and love and relating, and then met my beloved Nick. And so we've been monogamous for 7 years, and never in my life did I think I could be in a monogamous relationship and be so deeply satisfied and happy and not longing for others and not longing for more. And it's such a great place to be in. I never imagined I could feel this way. And so that's what drew me to your share. So thank you for sharing, because here we are.
Here we are. Here we are. Celebrating. Celebrating also this happiness and joy that you're sharing about also being in this 7-year committed relationship. Yeah, there's something about monogamy. It does feel like it creates stability, and stability does support more joy in life, or at least that's what I'm discovering, is there's a sense of stability. And polyamory was fun and exciting, and it was thrilling, and there was always something in the horizon, like this like kind of electric possibility of a new connection, and the doors are open for that. So I was with my partner, who's very much polyamorous, famously so.
Yes.
So there was always doors, windows open, which means that there was always energy coming in and energy going out. And there wasn't a container that I didn't even realize sometimes that I was missing a containment or a container. And of course, we had agreements that we are in a relationship. And he would tell me every single day that he was devoted and in love with me. It was beautiful. Like every day I got the affirmation. But energetically, things were coming in and going out all the time, energetically. And so I didn't realize I missed something that wasn't just the words, but an actual container. Now, I went into polyamory completely at my own free choice and will, completely convinced that that was the only way to enlightened love. And in this path that I was choosing, this tantric path, where I was actually celibate for 5 years when I started my tantric practices, I was not interested in actually physically making love with anyone, but I wanted to have an actual deep union with someone. So when my ex-partner came along, I was like, this is it. Yet I have to keep my heart open to the one, and the one is the beloved, which is the divine, and he will show up in many, many different bodies. He's actually, in fact, in every single body. So that makes me a total poly lover, right? So he embodied that same, I don't want to say it's even a belief. It was such a plug into something that felt so true and real. And so we were both feeling that. And it was in a way like we are the embodied temple priests, priestesses that in a way are lovers, and lovers to all. And that also meant sometimes being sexually lovers to one, to more, to many. And that doesn't mean that I was having sex with everyone or making love to everyone that I came across, although I wanted my heart and my being to be open open to connect to every being being the divine one. Because I got married at 23 to the one, which was the divine,
Wow.
call it God. And I was like, it's only him. It's only this. And so everything else was just, it was just in a way an expression of that in the earthly realm. But I was already completely taken, claimed. Now,
wow. So let's just go into that for a minute. So when you were 23,
right.
you said you got married, but you're not talking about a traditional, like, I had a ceremony and I met this guy and we got married. You're speaking about, can you explain that for people listening?
Yes, spiritually married, meaning I decided in my heart of hearts that I was married now to the one, which was for me an expression of the divine, call it God, call it creator. And I would be devoted for the rest of my life to this marriage. And I did that alone. I did that by myself. I was, created my own ceremony, but it was so real for me. It still feels like I carry those vows with me, even now if I'm married, with the wedding, with my parents there. Even traditionally, I did that now. I still carry this deep as a seed in my heart. It's never left. It is my first marriage, you could say. So that inspired the poly lifestyle. Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way of looking at it, connecting with the divine in everyone is, I love that. Do you now have a desire to do the wedding we're speaking about with the parents there and the vows and the flowers and the cake?
I've done that. I did that this year.
Oh,
yeah. Oh! Well, no, I did that in December.
I missed this part.
Yeah, I didn't post. That felt so. It was so. I didn't post pictures of it. I felt very private in a way. I didn't feel like, and also my partner isn't on social media and doesn't really want to be all over the social media. So yeah, but I did the cake, did the parents, did the dancing. Well, it was an Egyptian wedding, so it was just full on dancing for 4 hours, belly dancing. That's just about all we did. But yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I didn't know that. And I love that you didn't put it all over social media. Deep respect for that.
Just full on dancing for 4 hours, belly dancing. That's just about all we did. But yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I didn't know that. And I love that you didn't put it all over social media. Deep respect for that.
The biggest challenges were, it was having to deal with a lingering pain inside that was somewhat, I'm not enough, or I'm not enough. And that just, despite the romantic belief that everyone is God, it sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Like everyone's a divine, yet that deeply human part of my heart could never really let go of that pain, that I just wasn't enough. And so that was something that I carried around, and I think over time kind of started eating away at me, or taking something from me. You could say, take my vitality. It was hard. Polyamory is not for the faint-hearted. It's challenging, it's testing, it goes all the way back, all the way deep down to our core beliefs about ourselves, and really in a way unravels our past and our upbringing. So it brought up an incredible sense of I'm not enough, despite how many times my partner would tell me a day that he was here, he was committed. It didn't matter. The feeling was so strong, like tangibly, physically, materially, my partner was with lots of other beings, lots of other women. So no matter what, my body, my animal couldn't accept that. My physicality, just my humanity, my instinct knew that he wasn't with me. And so the deep belief was I'm just not enough. And that was very painful. And it started out fine. It got harder and harder and harder. And by the end, it was just, I couldn't bear it anymore. I could really feel my vitality and self-worth starting. It's like a fire that was going out. And I got scared for myself, to be honest. I was like, Jasmeen, this is not healthy anymore. You're not happy. You're not stable. Your mind is not stable. Your being is not stable. I was constantly trembling, wobbling inside. Of course, it was beautiful having lovers too. That kind of felt really nice, but also I wanted more stability in myself. And I knew that somewhere inside, maybe I was avoiding meeting myself so deeply by meeting someone else so deeply in commitment. Yeah.
Yeah. And what were the, I totally relate to that, by the way. I really think you've put it beautifully. What were some of the perks? Like what kept you there for so long in that relationship or in that world? Because there was something that, kept you saying yes.
There was a few things. First of all, I love a good challenge. And I was convinced. And I was convinced that on some level I could do this and I could completely go under all the muck and all the shit inside of me and go to a place under all the trauma, all the beliefs and feel and be like someone who just completely has moved through everything. And suddenly now, whatever belief I had that this was a way, a path of love, I could fully embody that. And so I kept staying, feeling that I could reach a place of full embodied love if I stay on this path, meaning I would awaken inside as a fully embodied lover to the divine, to myself, to life, to everyone. It was like this. Yeah, it was the seed that I'd planted a long time before that I wanted to embody it so badly. I wanted the full experience of it. So that's what kept me. And the second thing was with my partner, we had a dream together that we would create a new way of raising family or being family. Like a group of men, a group of women come together, fully committed as a family, because I also wanted to be a mom, and I felt I can't raise a child alone. I want a small dolphin pod. I used to call it like a dolphin pod, like a pod of beautiful beings where we raise this child together. And I still haven't given birth, and I feel like somewhere inside of me, I feel I don't want to do this alone. I want to have beautiful family, but an intimate family, like that is like home. I wanted family, I wanted home. But the way we were going about this open relationship wasn't meeting the requirement and criteria, I feel, to really create a warm home. And I was really, really wanting that. I wanted a family. I wanted him, but I also wanted to open up to other sisters and brothers. And yet that needs stability. It needs to be in one place. We were traveling the whole time. It wasn't even possible or feasible. Plus, we need to be monogamous together with another person, right? Or another 3 people, but we've got to keep that monogamous. And that wasn't happening. So yeah, somehow the dream couldn't realize itself. But that was what kept me very much wanting to be there. I wanted that dream. Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you and him go through phases of monogamy that you chose? Did you try never?
I asked and I wanted that, but it wasn't what he wanted. And I needed to respect that because after all, he has his. So we had our conversations. At that point, I was like, let's just have 2 weeks together alone. That was already a lot for me, just because we were very much traveling with a lot of beings a lot of the time. So, eventually I just started taking more time for myself, going on my own travel, spending more time in Egypt, doing my inner work, my outer work on the land there. So I had that freedom also to always go where I needed to go. And we didn't have to go and do everything together. So I created, you could say, I had my own thing going on. And so, yeah, we just started slowly at the end, the last years, to just drift apart. So rather than us having our monogamy, I just have my space and allow and give him space to do what he felt was right for him without needing that to change. Because in the end, you know, if someone doesn't want something and he's doing it for me, that's wouldn't feel healthy either, that he would conform and do that for me. We tried it for 2 weeks. It just didn't, I actually wasn't even attracted to him anymore. Actually, that was the ironic thing, was like when we were monogamous, it was just for a couple of weeks. I looked at him and was like, oh my God, this isn't you. He just changed. He wasn't his vibrant kind of attractive self. And I realized, no, I love him for who he is. And I don't want him to change that for me because suddenly he felt less attractive to me. So, you know, I mean, if someone doesn't want monogamy, it doesn't work if they try to do it to please a partner. You can't change someone who doesn't want to be monogamous. And I see that in a lot of people, couples. One wants poly, one wants monogamy. And the monogamous person is just hoping that the polyamorous person is going to change one day and want to meet them. And I'm like, you might be waiting a very, very long time. They don't want monogamy. They're not happy in monogamy. So, yeah, so... The breakthrough moment for me was actually finally realizing, like, Jasmeen, maybe you want monogamy and it's okay, honey, to want that. And it's okay to ask for that. And there's nothing shameful in that. And when I finally felt it and admitted it to myself, that was a huge breakthrough for me. I was like, it was almost like I was ashamed to want that. Like there was something in me that felt, oh gosh, no, keep that part hidden somewhere. This is, you know, like old way of doing things. This is traditional. Like we're in a new age stream here. But no, it was very, very important for me to finally to like allow myself to feel that. And it felt wonderful to realize that maybe I do want to be monogamous, at least for a while. You know, I don't want to speak for the rest of my life, and I definitely don't want to be an advocate for saying polyamory is wrong and monogamy is the right way. Not at all. Yet for now, it feels so good and so right. Yeah.
And I don't think there are any rights and wrongs, right? With like, oh, polyamory is right or polyamory is wrong. There's not, you know, it's sometimes I feel like there's two teams of like, well, we believe in monogamy and polyamory sucks. And then polyamorous people are like, oh, monogamy, you know. Or it's like there's no right and wrong. It's just what's right, what feels right for us right now.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
Choose what feels in alignment with your values and desires. And I have to interrupt this episode to let you know that today is sponsored by Pleasure School. Pleasure School is a monthly membership where together we study intimacy, conscious connections, and how to embody our true sexual essence. Every month, students of Pleasure School access members-only educational content across a wide range of formats, including written, audio, video, and guided home study. Pleasure School is led by myself, and I'm also joined by other teachers who are pioneering in the fields of sexuality, relationships, and holistic health. This is your chance to join a unique online school like no other in the world. Learn more and join Pleasure School at www.juliet-allen.com. That's JULIET-ALLEN.com. Yeah. So what would you say to somebody listening who is in that situation that you described? They are deeply yearning for monogamy and to feel chosen and to be in a really like a sacred container just with their beloved, and yet their beloved is just can't meet them in that place and wants to be polyamorous. What would you say to a woman who is in that situation? I know many women in that situation, and
Yeah, it's not an easy situation to be in. My heart really can feel those women right now listening who are in that. There is something so heartbreaking about it, loving someone so deeply and wanting to commit and wanting to be in relationship, like fully. And at the same time, just not able to handle the intense emotions that brings up and the intense feelings, and it shakes the ground. So if you're in that and you're learning a lot about yourself, and it feels like you're there in a way to learn and to uncover hidden parts of yourself that may be lingering there that you wouldn't have access to otherwise, and you feel you need to be there because of that, and that's what's keeping you there, then stay until that moment where you feel, I can't. And once that's, I can't, after that, it almost becomes like I don't want to say the word self-mutilation. That's a really harsh word, but it becomes unloving and unkind to yourself. So if you're learning and growing and you're there because you're like, this is amazing, the shadow work I'm doing right now is incredible. But when it starts to become really unkind and uncompassionate to yourself, you may need to take a step back and take the space and really evaluate, where is that coming? If there is anywhere where you're not fully loving and feeling your worth and value, then that might be a time now to just wrap yourself up with your own arms, ask for the support you need from your sisters or community or loved ones, and just take some breathing space. Some space to come back to yourself, some space to realign and to question, is this now what you really want? And if you say, I know I don't want this for long, then, if you're in that, you won't attract the partner that you're really longing to meet. And that doesn't say that person that you love so deeply can't still be someone you love as a friend, can still be someone you care about. Because my lovers are some of my greatest friends have been my lovers, and I love them. And the love doesn't go anywhere. The love stays, they become wonderful friends sometimes, or people who can really see you and be on a life journey with you. But the partnership is different, and a partnership feels good and safe. And partnership is meant to feel safe, a place where you go home to and you're wrapped up in that sense of, this is cozy and safe and wonderful. And I get to root into that. I get to blossom because I feel so held and loved and supported. That's what you want. You're not going to find it there. So you need to give yourself space to tangle and call and be available to welcome that in that you really want. So, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So you made a decision, you felt that monogamy was actually what you wanted. We're going to go back to your journey now. And so was that when your relationship ended with your partner? And how did you find yourself in a monogamous relationship? Like, I'd love to hear, your story of manifesting this now husband. Tell me more about that.
Well, after me and my partner that I've been speaking about in the long relationship, we were together for 6 years, so it was quite a long relationship. And we had also actually when we decided to get married and my dad was there, that's when I realized this wasn't the right relationship for me. Was once we did that and we were going to take it to that step, and I introduced him to my parents. And my dad was like, well, you have to get married. So he married us. That's when I realized this isn't the marriage. This isn't marriage for me. No, this isn't. I love him. I still talk to him a lot. We're still friends, but as a partnership, as a husband, no, this wasn't my husband. I knew that at that moment, but it took me to go that far to realize that. So after that, I was open. I felt the desire to continue to explore my own sexuality, my love. Had some lovers until I met someone else, and we were together for 9 months. It was probably the most intense relationship I've ever been in, because he wanted monogamy, and he introduced that into my life. You could say he was the one who wanted that, but also he came with me because secretly he felt like he could maybe experience polyamory. So it was this, he's a monogamous guy who really was intrigued by my poly nature. And I was a poly girl who's like intrigued by his monogamy. So we had a bit of a wobbly relationship, meaning he secretly also wanted to experience poly, whereas I was like, oh my God, this is the monogamous guy. This feels amazing. Monogamy feels so great. So I had a sip of something. He had a sip of something, but we were not in alignment then. So it didn't last, but he also showed me a mirror of all the things in me that I hadn't actually crystallized or accumulated in my relating lifestyle. Because I was so poly, there's just certain things you do when you're in a stable relationship that I wasn't doing, like just communication, household stuff, how we split money, every day-to-day life. I didn't have really experience with that because everything was so open. And so with him, I was like, oh, this is how I have to, when he's upset, I have to actually say, honey, let's sit down. Do you need a hug? Or all these things. My partner before that was so self-sustainable. I never had to do any of those things because we were both living a life in poly life. You tend to have to... If you're upset, you take care of yourself. If whatever you need, you are so independent. And I was just kind of versed in that as relating lifestyle. You just take care of yourself. You don't need the other for anything. Suddenly I enter this relationship. You start balancing and supporting and having these conversations. I'd never done that in my life. So he was a wonderful teacher that prepared me for the next step, which is now my husband, my partner. And I feel like so grateful to all these learning steps along the way to be who I am now in this relationship, which feels like I've learned so much. I think we learn a lot from our past when it's digested and we've allowed ourselves to learn our lessons and not avoid the uncomfortable things, but bring them in and learn from them and transmutate them. And I think it brings a lot of depth and richness to our relationships, which we're currently in or going to be in. So,
yeah. So the 9-month relationship ended and then you manifested, did you have like a realization like, yes, monogamy is it? And
no, I was still running away from that. I had a lot of lovers after that, and I enjoyed it. I relived things. I allowed myself to be so open. I can't say it was always at the beginning. It was more just, I didn't know how to be alone. And I had to go through a period of deep mourning and aloneness. And after I ended that relationship, I was monogamous. I mean, I was celibate again without realizing for quite a good while, like almost a year. And then the lover started to come in and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. I feel myself as a lover again. It wasn't until probably like about a year and a half after that, I was so lonely and I was crying myself to sleep so often that I realized, no, Jasmeen, you're now you're starting to feel something very deep. You don't want this. And I couldn't admit it until finally it became clear. I spent a winter alone, and only in that spaciousness and silence could I meet my heart, probably for the first time with what my heart really wanted. Giving myself space to listen, no distractions, no one, nothing. Just, Jasmeen, you need to do this now alone. And that's where I realized I really, really, really want a stable partner. And it was so clear. And of course, I got the support from elder women in my life, a few of them, having conversations with them. And it wasn't until I started also, just a few conversations with elders. And it was just came in like a lightning bolt one day. Like, Jasmeen, you ready? You want partnership? You want to be married? And I couldn't believe I was saying it because my dad had pressured my whole life. He's like, you have to get married. You must get married. He's an Egyptian father. All the time since I'm 18, he'd have suitors at home. You must get married. And he never talked to me like I never got the love of a father. Until I'm married, he won't see me as a full person. So I kind of was like rebellious against it. I was like, he wants me to get married, so I'm going to go be poly, right? But then I also had to confess, oh my gosh, you're not doing it for him. You're not doing this for anyone else. This is for you. You want this. It's not society. It's not it's what your heart desires. It was such a pure realization without, conditioning, without family, without culture, society. It's like marriage just felt like the most beautiful thing in the universe at that moment. I was like, this is what I want. But I finally admitted it was for me, not for anyone else. And that's where everything shifted. And I was like, I vow to celibacy until I meet him again, until I manifest that. And luckily, the universe was so kind. It was 3 months of celibacy.
Very kind and generous.
Very kind. I don't know if I could have done 5 years again or even a year. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. But you know what happens? That means you stick with that decision, But yeah, it was 3 months was very loving.
Wow. And where did you meet your husband? How did you meet him?
We met in an ecstatic dance in Portugal, which was... I decided I was going in. I was not going to flirt. I was not going to dance with anyone. He was dancing in the corner. He was also there. I'm going to dance just for myself. And so we ended up dancing next to each other for 3.5 hours without looking at each other. And every time I would move to all my friends who are in the dance floor doing all their contact improv stuff and rolling around. And I was like, actually, I don't feel like touching anyone. I don't want anyone to touch me. This guy feels good. He's just standing in the corner doing his thing. And it just felt so right. This dude, he was just a dude. And I was like, right now, this energy feels so good. And I stayed there, and it was, that was it. A few days later, we met again, and it was just so clear. And I said, I don't want to have another lover. I want to be in a partnership. So if this continues, this is what I want. And I'm not going to settle for lovership. This is just out of, I didn't say that the first day we met, but after we'd been connecting, I'd said it about a week, maybe 10 days later. And it was wonderful because he's like, that's great. Thank you for letting me know what you want. And for me, that's fine. I'm happy with that. And so I left for 3 weeks. And I realized I was going to go away for 3 months, but I realized, no, I'm coming back to be with this guy. And I want to claim that. I want this relationship. We did a survival course together, which is amazing, to be in the wild together and learn how to be a team. And while we're at the fireplace, I was like, well, it's my birthday in a few days. How do I introduce you? And he was like, how would you like to introduce me? I was like, as my partner. He's like, yeah, that sounds nice. Let's be partners while we're, making our spears around the fireplace. It was just always easy. There wasn't any drama or games around what are we not. It just was like, we're a team. We like each other. Yes, let's go deeper. And at some point, I was like, I'd like to introduce you to my family. You're coming to Egypt. And yeah, you can come, but you have to, we have to get married. And he's like, I love that. Let's get married. It sounds wonderful. And so we did. And so it hasn't been like this fireworks or like, wow, we're in a relationship now and now we're getting married. Oh my God, let me post it everywhere. Let me tell all my... It's just always been such a silent but really internal stabilizing affair. Our connection. It hasn't been the drama and the fireworks and other things have been. It's just been very comforting and very secure inside. And I think that's a really good sign that it's just feels grounding. And I was very allergic to this whole dating and the games and do I text? Does he text? What are we doing? What are we? And all those conversations that come along with that and how tiring and time consuming. I see that in my dear friends and how much consumption of energy and time and life force just goes into dating and deciding what are we. And look, if you're not in a relation, if you're not saying, okay, we're in a relationship at a certain point, then you're not in a relationship. It's something hard and bitter to drink. But if you want a relationship and they keep saying, I'm not ready, so then they don't, it's like, it's harsh, but it's like sometimes I've got to see the reality. I wish I could see that when I was going on in loverships, where it was like, oh, maybe it will be this, maybe it will that, maybe one day they'll change. No, they don't. They're clear. I want to be poly. I don't want to be in a relationship right now means they do not want to be in a relationship right now. When someone wants to be in a relationship and you want to be in a relationship, you enter a relationship. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You just enter a relationship. We're a team, we're partners. This is what we want. But I just, you get it. So, yeah.
Oh, I totally get it. It's just like, yeah, that's what we're doing and we're going to do it. And there's no drama. And then what are next steps? Cool. You're my partner. Okay. What should we have for dinner? Boom. It's
exactly.
It just doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't there doesn't need to be games. And when there are games and you're doubting what's going on, and it's just energy sucking. It is. And that's what happened with Nick and I. I remember the moment we were sitting on this hill, we'd just been to the beach, and I said, so what, from the moment we met, we just naturally wanted to spend time together. There was no like, oh, I'm just going to wait a bit and then I'll text, or, he hasn't texted yet. It just flowed. And then after about 3 or 4 hangs together, I guess you could say, we spent time together. I said, so what? I met his mum very quickly, and then that afternoon was like, so what? Like, what are we? And he's like, you're my partner. Is that what you want? And I said, yeah. And then I said, so do you want like monogamy or polyamory? Like what? He said, monogamy. I just want you. And I was like, he's like, what do you want? I was like, yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think I had to slip in, but if I do want to change, because I was like, oh, but if I was open, he's like, I'm open to it. One day perhaps things will change, but right now let's just be together. And that was it. And then we just made a life together.
Yeah. It sounds so simple. But it's so profound. It's Yeah.
It's very grounding.
I'd love to hear more. So it's very grounding, and
it just felt really. I actually felt freer than I had ever felt, because I've just found so much freedom in monogamy. And I have so much more energy for other things in my life. My children, like my work in the world, my cooking, tending to my home, which I love. It's like I can fully be present rather than feel like pieces of me are out there kind of, or I'm, then concerned about what's my lover doing? Who's he with now? What's, it's like I was kind of always anticipating like, what's the next thing? And now I just get to be free, and that's been my experience.
Thank you. I can so relate. I thought I was free when I was poly, and in some ways physically I was. Of course there's a freedom, but I can totally relate that now I feel so much more free. And for the first time, material things are starting, the dreams I had that I kept dreaming are actually starting to come true, whether it's my work in the world, whether it's suddenly we've set up 2 companies within a year, there's land, there's a home in Egypt, there's us, our dreams are, he supports my dreams and makes them happen. There's something that can only come in a beautiful home and secure container. So yes, I really relate to that. Yeah. And I do know just a few beings who are living a poly lifestyle, where they are living in this family pod kind of thing where it works, but then they're monogamous as a group. They're not just all over the place. But there are situations where I can say, as beings who live a poly lifestyle, where they do that, but it's by nature that they're already grounded and they're working together. There's something about being a team and partners that I think is so important in relationship. If you're not partners and supporting each other, then, a lot of dispute can come in. But when you're kind of just a team and you support each other and even work together or do things together. It's just stabilizing. Shit happens, basically. Like, things can really start to happen in the world. I think a lot of successful people say that you need a good partner in life, like intimate partner, to be able to make beautiful dreams come true with deep roots and big branches. It needs stability. So,
Yeah, I agree. It's a beautiful point. I just feel like we can beautifully end the conversation here in a way. Like, you've shared so much, and I was so curious to hear, the ups and the downs of polyamory for you and what you found challenging, and then how you moved into monogamy. And are you noticing, I mean, I'm personally noticing more people are actually from the poly community moving towards monogamy. Like, it's kind of cool. I don't know whether you're noticing that. Perhaps it's just in the community here in Australia, where I'm noticing a shift, perhaps. Are you noticing that, or is that just me?
Yeah. No, it's not just you. I am feeling that, and a lot more. I'm seeing that, actually. I'm seeing it. I'm hearing that. A lot of my dear beloveds we were together on a long path with this poly path have also converted, but have also gone
to the other side.
Are having experiences where their nervous systems can relax and where they feel all safe and held, and they can come home to themselves even more. And who knows, Juliet, maybe there is another wave that takes us all, maybe it feels like, I've me and my partner, we know that could come one day, but right now we're so content that there's no need to open up. We're just happy in our intimate life, in our sexual life, in our, in our life. It just feels like, no, this is sacred and for us, but it could maybe one day. But yes, I am seeing that. And it just feels like also this whole sacred union, sacredness of relationship is really important. There's something around, I guess the word is sacred, the coming home. Maybe right now we're being prepared for big shifts in the world, which are happening, civilizational shifts, planetary shifts. So somehow we do need to feel this sense of calm inside and ease and the devotion again. Something deeply is calling me to devotion. And since I'm in this marriage, my whole life is opened in devotion to the temple, to the work I'm doing. So, there are mysterious things that make us move in certain ways. And right now, it does feel like, it's important now to ease our nervous systems and prepare for something. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing and just for your time and presence and wisdom and beauty. It's an honor to spend time with you, and also, to be able to share your story with the people who are listening. No doubt they are so grateful and inspired, and thank you.
Thank you for having me, and it's been a joy.
So if people want to find you, connect with you, have a look at your offerings, where can they do that? Where can they find you in this big world of ours?
Yes. So you're welcome to find me on Bliss School website. So it's www.bliss.school. So this is Bliss School, where you can find all the upcoming online courses. There's also the Bliss School YouTube channel, which has a lot of free content, free meditations, videos. So specifically around the ancient Egyptian path, but also everything related to love, relationships, sexuality, and power that comes from this tradition. And you can also see my personal Instagram, which is Jasmeen_Hana_, or also now newly emerging the bliss.school on Instagram. So you'll find a lot of this info, I believe, under the link. So you're welcome to tap onto that.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I know it's the morning where you are.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Authentic Sex Podcast. If you love the show, please hit follow wherever you are listening and leave me a review. And if you really, really, really loved it, please share the podcast with your friends, family, and social media followers. Doing this together as a community, we can make an impact and support the world to feel more sexually empowered and free, and just get the word out about these free resources. If you'd like to join me for daily updates and inspiration, you can find me on Instagram, which is at Juliet, JULIET _Allen, ALLEN. And you can also head on over to my website to join any of my offerings, Pleasure School, the Intimacy Blueprint, and you can also treat yourself to the Juliet Pleasure Wand at www.juliet, JULIET, -allen, ALLEN.com.